Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here at the Abercrombie & Kent Club 100 event. It's all the top selling travel advisors, travel agencies for Abercrombie & Kent. And we're here at the Peninsula Hotel in Chicago. I'm here with a familiar face if you've been watching us, but live, which is really weird for us because usually we do this by Zoom. But here's Bob Simpson, who is the Vice President, Luxury Expedition Cruising for Abercrombie & Kent. And luxury expedition cruising has been a major category for Abercrombie & Kent for a long time. And we're going to talk to Bob about what the future holds, new trips, new expeditions all over the world, not just Antarctica and Arctic. And you'll find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. First of all, Bob, it's great to see you live. It's amazing. I had to pinch you and said we're actually here live.
Real people, not holograms.
People, not Zoomers. So it's great to see you here. It's a wonderful event, and we're just coming to the close of this. But we wanted to spend some time with you to talk about expedition cruising. And let's start off by talking about this, sort of looking back a little bit, because you did just have an expedition cruise season in Antarctica. How did that go for you?
It went off, I would say, relatively without a hitch.
Right.
And I put little brackets in that. We started back up actually in September. We had the opportunity to kind of get back in operation. Like everyone, we had quite a bit of layup that we had to kind of endure. We were able to get going in September with some programs in Greece and in Iceland, and then
people forget you do expedition cruising beyond the polar regions, right?
That's right, and we'll talk a bit about that. Yeah. But we were able to get in our full Antarctic season. We started at the end of November. We had a great Eclipse cruise program that we had obviously had scheduled because of that great event, and then we kind of progressed all the way through the beginning of February. It was a bit of an interesting season in many regards due to sort of the onset of Omicron, as we all are very familiar with
that hit
now.
Just as the beginning of the Antarctic season, right?
It kind of was right in the middle, actually. Yeah. And for all of us, we kind of had a lot of optimism, and things started off with with kind of no ripples, and then all of a sudden things started to kind of unravel a bit because of the Omicron, and so it really kind of reinforced the needs that we had in terms of the protocols that we were following. And one thing I quite often say too is that a lot of the key to our success with how we were able to manage had to do with sort of the connection of our team on the ground in Buenos Aires, which I know you've talked a lot about the value of our A&K DMCs on site, managing all of the protocols and the processes that we had, our great sort of collaboration with Ponant that we'll talk about.
And Ponant is who you charter from, and you've had a long relationship, I know, 16 years, something like that?
15 years since we started our relationship, but 13 years of operation with Ponant. But then, of course, also sort of the professionalism and sort of handling of our of everything with our expedition team. So everything ended up going off without disruption.
That's great.
So we were very,
and it's wonderful having done. Unfortunately, I didn't do it with you, but I did it my first two Antarctica cruises, and I did see some of your ships, the charter Ponant ships,
yep.
and Naveen Sawhney is a great friend of mine. Who's the man who's the group CEO, I guess, of Ponant here in the States, and they do a wonderful job, and they really have beautiful ships. So you really have a strong relationship with them. Let's talk a little bit about what's to come now, because now that's over with, and hopefully, and then so what do you have coming in 2022? Even this summer with Arctic, right?
Yeah, and even before that, what I think is great is that the world is starting to gain confidence in terms of opening doors and opening up, and it starts for us actually a month from today, literally, in Australia. And
you're back to Australia. Australia's open, right?
Australia's open, and more importantly, we just found out just last week that Western Australia is open for us as well.
That's where you do the Kimberleys.
That's where we do the Kimberleys. So we are operating our Kimberley cruise in May. That's a go. We're really excited about that. We've had a couple of years off, like we have with a lot of other destinations. And then the month after, in June, if it's not one thing, it's another. We had our Baltic cruise scheduled, and of course, right, with the unfortunate conflicts that's going on in Ukraine, that had a significant impact for all of us that operate in the Baltic. But we were able to pivot a little bit and adjust our itinerary to still be able to operate. So we will be operating that program from
minus St. Petersburg.
Minus St. Petersburg, but that'll be in June, and that transitions to the Arctic. That will be in July for us. And here again, I think it's exciting because, Svalbard, where we begin our program there in the Arctic, it has been closed, for ships over the last 2 years. So that's opening up. That's going to be followed by the Northwest Passage in August. Likewise, the Canadian Arctic has been closed. That's opening up. So we're seeing all these destinations emerge from COVID and opening and welcoming not just our guests, but more importantly for me, our ships.
Absolutely, and you need that. You got to get them to get the ships. And I know that one time you were going to do a Northeast Passage, but that's probably closed off now again due to the war, right?
Yeah, that was planned originally for next year. Here again, you pivot, and we're going to repeat our Northwest Passage again in 2023.
Which is not too bad. I mean, that's a good itinerary. Now, what do you have planned for the 22-23 season for Antarctica?
So we have our full season scheduled. One thing that I always kind of remind advisors is that our itineraries are very specific in terms of how we design them. So we have very unique enrichment focus on every program that we operate. Each year, if you remember, we've talked about this, I think, we have one of our programs that really focuses on sort of the important elements of climate change in the polar regions. So we'll be repeating that program in December. We have on board Dr. James McClintock, who's the endowed professor from University of Alabama, Birmingham, and probably one of the world's foremost experts on polar climate change and the changes that are impacting sort of the global environment. So we have that program in December. We have our family departure that features our Young Explorers program over the holidays. We have our photography program that focuses on the enhancement of photography, especially in South Georgia, that we do on that itinerary. And then at the end of January, we're going to be operating a program that's going to focus a little bit more on the historical context of the discovery of Antarctica, where we're going to go beyond the Antarctic Circle. It's a little bit longer of a program, and we're going to go beyond the Antarctic Circle down into Marguerite Bay in the area that was explored by Palmer and Bellinghausen and some of the early explorers of
Shackleton and all those.
All of them, yeah.
Here, because there was just an anniversary for Shackleton and got a lot of play in the press of Shackleton, who actually, unfortunately, didn't make it, but that's another story. He got out, but then he went back. Right. He did get out the first time. Now, let's talk a little bit about, obviously everyone knows you for Antarctica, for the Arctic, but you mentioned earlier, you actually do expedition cruises in other parts of the world, and in fact, you restarted expedition cruising, I think, in Greece last year or 2 years ago. Talk a little bit about the destinations you're going to offer in 23 for the expedition cruising beyond the polar regions.
So, we have a very similar sort of design philosophy when it comes to our programs, and while the polar programs are sort of all expedition, where sort of the experience is all based on the use of the zodiacs and getting out and exploring in the field. Our cultural expeditions, if I can refer to, it's the same philosophy in terms of the experience for the guest on shore, but we choreograph things very, very carefully in each port. So we advance scout and do all the design ourselves, which is very important. And then we have a variety of excursions every day, no matter where we are, that offer a different variety of interest for the guests. So every day they can kind of select a different element of the experience when they're on shore. So that's where we really have the breadth of our expansion. We talked about our relationship with Ponant a little bit earlier. It started in Antarctica, 12 years ago on the Boreal when they first delivered the ship in 2010. And as they've grown their fleet and their capacity, it's given us the opportunity to continue to grow what we do as well. And
and not all their ships are polar. They have some of their expedition ships that are not polar.
That's exactly right. But the important thing is that it's a very common platform in terms of the style, the luxury, and the elements of what the ship can deliver. But it's a consistent operation for us. So when we charter the ship, we put all of our product on board. So that's our expedition team, all of our guides, our lecture team, our staff. all the choreography of the itinerary planning that we do using the ship as the platform to deliver. But because we have this close symbiotic relationship with Penang, it's a very easy transition for us to come on and really, literally in an 8-hour period, turn the ship into an A&K product. And it would be a little bit difficult to do if we were working with different ships and different operators because of that level of...
You're familiar with the ship, they're familiar with you.
Yes, exactly.
Well, one ship I do hope you get, because I don't think it's part of your itinerary, is the Commandant Charcot, which I was lucky enough to be on. It's an amazing vessel. I know you're talking about bringing that on board because it is really the Polar Class 2 ship, which is really special.
It is, and yes, we have very specific plans. That's coming very, very soon. But before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about what we do have planned specifically for 23 already, and some of the new programs that we've got kind of ready to go. The first thing, and you and I know each other well. You know, I've been doing this for A&K for almost 25 years. This is the first time since I've been with A&K and we've been doing expedition cruising that we will be operating our programs on all 7 continents.
That's a great achievement. You would have thought you would have, because usually the last one is Antarctica, but for you it might have been one of the first ones. Right?
Exactly. And it starts with one of the new programs that we have, which is our coastal Tanzania and Seychelles program. So that's going to be in March of 2023. It's going to be on the Katia, which is one of the new explorer vessels from Penang, and it's going to begin in Zanzibar and then end in Mahi, in Victoria and Mahi in the inner Seychelles Islands. But it's going to have a combination of some experiences in Tanzania. It'll start for our guests. We'll have a group extension that they can do a Serengeti extension before they join the program in Zanzibar. And then we'll have 3 days of sort of coastal experience in Tanzania. We'll visit Pemba Island, which is sort of connected to the history of the whole spice trading era, and so we get a chance to go to some spice markets. We're also going to have an AKP, Abercrombie Kent Philanthropy, supported project at a local school that we're going to be delivering a life straw clean water system there. We're going to visit an area that I'm very excited about. It's called Kilwa Kiswani, which is a little bit further southeast on the coast. And it's the old Swahili archaeological ruin site, and it's only accessible by a small ship like this. Wow. And then from there we head off and do an experience through the Seychelles, both the outer as well as the inner Seychelles. Probably the key highlight for me is we're going to spend 2 days at Aldabra Atoll, which is the largest raised coral reef system in the world, and it's got an amazing array of endemic different species of particularly birds. The giant tortoises there, but great snorkeling opportunities and just a wildlife experience that goes throughout the Seychelles. So that'll be in March of 23. Okay. And then shifting a little bit to a cultural experience in April, we're going to be doing a program that's going to begin in Lisbon and then finish in London, but it's going to be kind of focusing on sort of a combination of culinary wine with Porto and Bordeaux. When we get to France, we're gonna.
You could call me. That's my kind of expedition.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, everything expedition can be other things, right?
We're gonna bridge a little bit of history with an overland experience to Santiago de Compostela and the cathedral there, and our guests will have a chance to sort of retrace an end point of the way of St. John or St. James Trail there. The Brittany coast and the Normandy beaches. Finishing in London, we'll go under the Thames or under the London Bridge into Thames River.
It's always spectacular to go that way.
Right, yeah. So that'll be in April, and then I'm going to skip a little bit ahead before I get to our program in September. But in late October, and this is the program I'm probably the most excited about, is it's an expedition that's going to be from French Polynesia, from Tahiti to East.
Great place to start.
That's a great place to start. Finishing in Easter Island, which is a great place to end, but in between it's going to be sort of this trace of the sort of history of the Polynesian culture with the history of the exploration of the Bounty. If you remember the mutiny on the
Of course,
Bounty,
yeah, no.
the story, and we will be visiting our plan. We've been in communication with the community there at Pitcairn Island, which is the most remote populated area in the world.
And it was the original where the Bounty crew ended up, right?
Fletcher Christian burnt the ship in the harbor and doomed his mutineers and their Tahitian brides to live their days on Pitcairn. The residents there's 48, all are direct descendants of families that came from the mutineers. So it's going to be an amazing experience. On that program also, this is interesting, I feel, we're going to have Commander Susan Kilrain. This may not sound like a connection, but it is. Commander Kilrain is a former Navy test pilot and space shuttle commander with NASA.
Not too bad.
No, she a lot smarter than me, I'll tell you that, number one. And she also traveled with us on our Eclipse program in Antarctica this past season, and she's going to be on to sort of tell this story of the comparisons of exploration on Earth versus space. There's another element to this where the skies in this area, actually the Pitcairn group is part of the clearest skies in the world. So the stargazing would be amazing. And then finally at Easter Island, there is a connection there as well. Easter Island, number one, has the runway, if you're aware, was built actually it was constructed as an emergency landing site for the space shuttle.
Oh, so there is the connection with this lady.
There, but she also, her first mission in space on the space shuttle, she was assigned a geographical reconnaissance. The subject point on Earth was Easter Island. So it's going to be a really
coincidence. My only question was for you there is, now, is it you or me who's playing Captain Bligh and Mr. Christian? I couldn't remember.
I think I would prefer to be Fletcher Christian because I think he survived a little bit longer.
Well, let's see. So we can recreate the whole thing, like this.
And then I'll finish. The last thing is we're going to be doing a new program in the Med. It's going to be the an Adriatic Coast program that's going to begin in Venice, and it will end in Athens. And along the way, we'll be doing Croatia with Dubrovnik, Split, Kotor in Montenegro, Corfu in Greece, and then we just actually found out and got confirmation that we will be able to do the Corinth Canal, which has been closed, and it will be open in order for us.
I've done that. It is an amazing thing, especially in a smaller vessel. Yeah.
It is. So
you have to do a smaller vessel. Actually, you can't get through. Yeah.
So that program actually is going to be connected by our Italy cruise that we've been operating for a number of years prior to that, and then our Greek Isles cruise. So our guests will have the opportunity, our advisors will have an opportunity for their guests to do a grand Mediterranean experience, beginning in Livorno that we do on our Italy cruise. Starts with 2 nights in Florence in the Tuscany, and then at the Four Seasons in Florence, we do a 9-night cruise along the navigable coast of Italy with some great experiences. Finish that program in Venice, and then the Adriatic cruise finishing in Athens, and then a 7-night Greek Isles cruise with 2 nights at the Grand Batain at the end. And I know you've been there to finish that program. So 28 days. From
your little version of a world cruise. Right?
It is, and
it's the Mediterranean total, immersion in the Med, right?
Full immersion in the Med, and so it can be booked in 1, 2, or 3 segments consecutive.
That's amazing. Now, we've talked about this before, but why do you think expedition cruising is? It seems suddenly, if not for you, you've been doing it for 25 years, but in my mind, all of a sudden, it's the product sort of exploded in the market. You are really refocused heavily on expedition cruising. It's become a major part of your product offerings. Why is this happening right now?
There's a couple of things. One is, the obvious that the travelers are looking for these unique experiences and bucket list types of experiences as well. And I think we've all kind of referenced this is that they've been shut out for the last 2 years as well. So there's a huge amount of pent up demand, and they're looking for trading those sort of items for experiences. The other thing is, and this is just sort of organic in terms of the way that we operate our programs as well, they're looking still to do it in a very, what they feel is a comfortable and safe way. Right. And so when we charter the Ponant ships, one of the elements that's important about that is that by chartering, we have full operational control as well as the capacity. So we always limit our capacity on board. There's a number of reasons why and how we do that, but we're never more than about 80% of what the ship's designed to carry, usually about 75%. And so that gives a lot more comfort and space on board in terms of the environment. And it enables us to also operate our programs in a very manageable and safe way as well. And I think that that's appealing for the advisors in the programs that they're looking for.
That leads me to my question, and that is one of the A&K differences. I mean, what are the other? Why do expedition cruising with A&K?
And you've heard me say this before too. It really starts with our team. My team in Downers Grove for A&K, in terms of the background and experience in sort of pulling things together, but the biggest difference is the team that we have on board. And so we have a very specific and hand-picked team of experts in different capacities in terms of roles on board. And so on any given program, we'll have anywhere between 18 upwards to 22 A&K staff choreographing and running the program. That's our expedition leaders, our cruise directing staff, our field naturalists, our own Zodiac drivers, which is important because we have our Zodiac drivers that we know have a background of experience. When you've been to Antarctica, you know how much time you actually will spend out at times in the Zodiacs. You want to have somebody that actually can bring and deliver a little bit of the experience while you're there.
Most of the time they are guides as well. They just happen to be driving the boat right then.
That's exactly right. And so that's a component. And then a hand-picked number of experts that align specifically every program, and I've mentioned this before, that we custom design in terms of a focus or an enrichment. So we never have somebody who's actually doubling up on two different topics, right? Marine mammals and birds. We have a specific expert for each discipline of the enrichment program that we put on. So for me, and I'm a little bit biased, but and most of these staff members only travel with A&K, and a lot of them have been here doing this as long as I have. So it's a consistent team. Our guests, one of the reasons we hear this time and time again, that our guests actually come back on our new programs that we launch, is they want to travel with those guys in the next great place.
And it is true. When you get a great guide, great expedition leader, great expedition team, you want to go back because that's a knowledgeable person. You form relationships. They're great. They're kind of your, in a way, camp counselors, but also historians, scientists, anything you want, and they're going to show you these destinations like you've never seen before, right?
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
Now, anything else you want to say to our 100,000 travel advisors out there about A&K Expeditions?
Well, A&K Expeditions, the one thing that I would say again is give us a shot. If you have guests that are looking, I say this quite often, we are not a cruise line. We're an experiential tour operator that we use the ship as the platform for us to deliver our brand of choreographed experience. The second thing, I want to just thank all of the travel advisors. I know how difficult it's been for us, and I know that it's even been more difficult for all of you. And so spending time with our close advisors this week has been tremendous, and we've all not been together for actually, in some of us, for going on 4 years now. That it's been eye-opening in terms of the level of enthusiasm, but also the support. So we really do appreciate it. We wouldn't be anywhere without our advisors, and we thank you very much.
Well, Bob, thank you for your time. It's been great to see you live in person. We should do this more often in live. We do Zoom too, but it's great to be here with Bob live to hear all. He's got such tremendous knowledge about expedition cruising, and it's been fabulous to get together with all the A&K team here and learn all about the wonderful products. And we have talked to Bob in the past about expedition cruising, and boy, you couldn't find a better person to talk to. He's one of the deans of expedition cruising and really pretty well recognized around the whole expedition cruising world. So again, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, James.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.